Well, and here we are. We're back with Stalk Talk, which is always a fun thing to do. Let's see. Man, I'm sorry. I said I wasn't going to do this, but it feels like it's been a while, Catherine. So,
Yeah.
good to see you again. Although there must be something wrong with my computer screen because I've got a line across your face.
Yeah, I think it's, the golden hour of the morning right now.
Oh, so it's an
Yeah.
actual. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not.
It is an actual
Okay.
line. It's the sunlight.
That's always good to know.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. We are really excited to kind of kick off the fall season of Stalk Talk with a special episode featuring Burrus Seed. And we have today with us Todd Burrus and Tim Greene and Griffin Greene, 3 generations of the Burrus family. And what's important about it is coming up here in a couple of weeks, Burrus is celebrating their 90th anniversary, the 90th year in the seed business. And I got to tell you, we've got a few family businesses out there that have gotten close to that longevity mark, but y'all are the first to cross that 90-year yard line, if you will. That's a big deal. So, man, congratulations. We're excited to have y'all here.
Yeah, thanks, Todd. We're glad to be here. And 90 years. Who would have thought, right? Back in 1935 with hybrid seed corn coming on the scene, and we started with our first acre back there. Roy and Wilbur Burrus, that'd be Todd's grandfather and great uncle. So it's been a fun journey for sure.
Well, Todd, I got to ask, I mean, really and truly, we're talking about, okay, your grandfather, great uncle, Roy and Wilbur, 1935. And the history says 2 brothers who believed in the value of service and integrity. That is what y'all say in the history of that, of Burrus Seed. And I think that resonates today, honestly, more than it did then. But tell me what you know about it. I mean, I'm going to say you probably weren't there when it got started.
Thank you. I always want to bring clarity there, Todd, that I am the senior citizen here, but I'm not that senior. I think, when I tell our company history, one of the statements that I make, Todd, is that we were founded on the thought that through seed, we could increase yields and we could increase profitability. And that was how Burrus was founded 90 years ago. And I think it's significant that history has carried forward for 90 years because that's still what we're doing today. We're in the business of through seed, increasing yields, increasing profitability. And, in today's market, profitability isn't a given. You're going to work at it, but it can be done. And there's things we can do through seed to help growers get there.
Yeah, Todd, we've had a tagline around here for a while, but it says how we farm has changed, who we are has not. And carrying
Love
that
that.
through, multiple generations, we've been very fortunate, built upon that foundation that Todd just shared with you.
Well, I'll tell you what, that is super cool. And I mean, I think y'all might ought to think about bringing that one back too, because it's really important. I think one of the things that resonates strongly with me about this entire piece of service and integrity is we're going to come into our EPSA annual conference. Okay, this is a, shameless commercial, but we're bringing back a speaker we had several years ago named David Horsiger, whose, topic is talking about trust and integrity. And he wrote a new book and it's called Trust is Needed Now More Than Ever, something like that. I'm paraphrasing it. And I think we're starting to lose that as sometimes as an industry, certainly as a country, it feels like we're losing a lot of that aspect. So I really love what's going on there. Griffin, you're the newest guy. Now, look, I know you've never worked in, a cornfield in your life and you've never detasseled
Yeah.
any corn, and you just graduated from the University of Illinois a few years ago. And, you come over here knowing nothing about seed. What's it like being the real, I guess, 5th generation?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Todd, it's a dream come true. It's an honor. What the family, the 4 generations ahead of me set the standard. And again, and I don't take it for granted any day because, you know, what was instilled in us when we were 13 years old to pick tassels for minimum wage is the you're never above any job on the farm, and the family's always been proud of that, and we still say it to this day as well. Um, and I've had phenomenal role models like Uncle Todd, my father, and my grandfather to watch and see how you treat people, not just how you do business, but how you treat people, and I think that's where the success lies.
Well, I got to tell you what, you're a very lucky young man because back in my day when I was, growing up on the dairy farm, minimum wage was you got to eat and sleep. That was the
Yeah.
minimum wage. Otherwise, go out there and milk those cows, boy, and feed that calf and get on the tractor and go
Yeah.
break some hay.
It's kind of a
So
rite of passage. Yeah. Martha's 2 sons are involved. Todd's grandsons are involved with the tasseling now. And, that's in our family, that's kind of the rite of passage. You start the tasseling, you start pulling tassels at 13 and you've got to do a good job to keep on, moving up the chain there.
that is, and I could just, now I have to admit, never done it. I've never detasseled. I hate to
Well, I've
disappoint
never
everybody.
milked a cow, so yeah, we're even there. But
I have
the
planted
tasseling
corn,
maybe.
grown corn. But I've always thought detassel when people are out there. I tried to send Catherine up to a couple of locations to detassel with her sons here a couple of years ago and finally just gave up on it. I just thought there wouldn't be anything more hot, more sweaty, more
Yeah,
itchy.
it's a character building experience, let me tell you. Yeah.
Catherine,
think
we
it'd be
still
good
got
for
another
'em.
year. We still got another year for Aiden and Asher
Yeah.
coming up.
Yeah.
But we got playing next year.
Yeah.
All right. That is some really cool stuff. By the way, Griffin, I probably want to talk to you about you're a football coach at some time, but we'll talk about it offline.
That sounds good to me.
It's about time for him to fall off, because he does that.
Let's
He
hope
does
not.
it,
Let's hope
and then
Let's
goes
hope.
back.
Let's hope we keep building.
Well, let me ask you. So, and this is just a general question to everybody. So, the start in 1935, and Todd, Todd, I'm going to come back to you. So, can you talk us through some of the things that you heard from grandfather and father, and then down through some of the areas that really seem like, okay, it's very tough now, and but we were able to get through it. And the reason I ask that is, look, the farm economy nationally is in low straits. We know commodity prices are just in the pits. It's not the first time this has happened, but I mean, we got huge costs, we got low commodity prices. I'm really interested when you look across 90 years, it wasn't always a straight path up. I know there were some peaks and valleys and times that probably came around and said, wow, do we really want to do this? Because in 1935, that was in the middle of the Depression.
It would have been.
And then just, 6 years later, we were in World War II. Yeah. So where were some of the real valleys that came across the business and points that y'all were able to get through and continue forward, but really had some questions about?
It is interesting to reflect back, because when we reflect back, we get confidence that even though there's clouds in the west today, every step of the way, there's always been, is this going to work out or is that's going to work out? And it always has, or we wouldn't still be standing here today. So you gain confidence by looking back, and you gain confidence by looking back at some of those bumpy times. I am mindful, when you mention the 1940s and World War II, I should just say I did not know either my grandfather or his brother Roy. They had passed before I was born. I barely remember my grandmother. On the flip side, I've had the privilege of working with my dad for over 30 years, my brother over 40 years, and now with my children over 20 years. And it's not everybody that has that kind of privilege of working in a family business. And many of the foundational things that make a family business work well actually was passed to us by my dad. Did you know my dad, Todd?
I did not.
Okay. Yep. My dad's name was Martin. Amazing guy, amazing blend of ability and passion for agriculture. But when one of the things I remember, he when Tom and I, when he took Tom and I in as business partners, actually we had the opportunity to buy in the business. The only problem was we didn't have any money, so Dad loaned us the money to buy in. And that was in the early 70s. And so not only were we going with young people buying into the business, but there was a thing called Southern Cornleaf Blight that came, and it hurt our business. We did not have the product that customers wanted that would protect them against that disease. And I can remember not only were we going through that transition, but in 1 year, our sales went to half. And we made the assumption that the next year our sales would come back because we now had product that would meet that customer's needs and provide the disease resistance. And our sales went to half again. And so it was really a wake-up call. At one point, Dad looked up with 2 young partners and a fourth of the business that we once had going on. But we never gave up. We just simply said, okay, here's what we're going to need to do. We tightened our belt. I can remember Tom telling stories of, the repair on the truck was more expensive than the truck was worth, but we didn't have the money to replace it. So we had to repair it, even though the repair job was more than it was worth. And you can look and be embarrassed by that, or you can look and say, you know what? We figured out a way to get through it, and not only get through it, but to be better for what we went through to get there.
Well, one of the reasons I asked the question I did is because to me, there's nothing embarrassing about fighting through, because everything's not always rosy. I made mention to Catherine earlier this week, we entered the times to test men's mettle. And, I think that's a phrase that kind of, could be put on everybody, but you do enter challenging times, and how you react and face those, I think, is incredibly important. And, you can, and let's face it, a lot of ways, sometimes people give up, and, there are reasons to give up, but sometimes people give up too easily. And it's like, this is worth fighting for. This is worth staying. And we're going to plant the flag, and we're going here. This is our hill. This is what we're going to stand on. So,
It's
I think
it's an interesting blend when I look back. One of the very foundations that Dad gave us was within a family business, there has to be good communication. And he always told us, he said, you're going to have differences of opinion. You need to have a difference of opinion. It's healthy. But the thing you have to do is you got to communicate about what you're thinking and why. And with that, you'll figure out a way to get through to the other side. And I just look back and I think, oh my gosh, the wisdom that my dad gave us. And I think that's the key to being able to make 5 generations continue to work gracefully together is just a simple communication and a confidence and a trust that everybody has the same goals. So now, how do we reach those goals and incorporate the various ideas and thoughts in the business? So,
going back, one of the things I can remember, Tom Burrus was my father-in-law, obviously, and one of the things he and Todd talked about that we shared with both of our sons, Laura and I shared with both of our sons coming back into the business is, you've got to want to do this. There's going to be an opportunity for you here, but it's got to be your desire. We don't want to pull you back in or force you, because there are going to be some days where it's not so easy. And if you feel like, we're the ones who made you do this or pulled you back in, that's going to make it doubly tough, right? But if you made the decision that, hey, I'm here, we're going to make the best of it, kind of alluding to what Todd's talked about, you figure out a way. And so when you make that personal decision that you want to be involved, it helps smooth out some of those bumps along the way, because not every day is easy in the seed business, I can assure you.
Well, that's right. I got to tell you, I'm probably going to steal that quote, Todd, from your dad. Within a family business, there has to be good communication. I know a woman that I work with in another business named Marty Martin, and I think she needs to hear that.
Yeah.
Not that it'll go anywhere, but she needs to hear that.
Say, Todd, you better better
okay.
Stop right there, and we won't go any further. That's right. We don't want you to get in trouble.
Yeah, we edit that part out, Catherine. Maybe I got too much. Too deep.
But going back to that, go ahead. Sorry.
No, please go.
Okay. Going back to that, and you said there has to be good communication to work gracefully, because working with family is not the easiest. What is something that y'all do to make sure that it is always gracefully done?
I think one of the things that has to take place is that you have to have confidence that you're loved and accepted. And with that, then you can go into a tender place, into a contentious place, and speak truth and know you're still going to be loved and respected, even if there's a difference of opinion. And I smile. I mean, for those of you on here that would have known my brother, Tom was never bashful, and but he was such a great partner and a great friend, because we understood that he and I always had the same goals, and we intentionally didn't work in the same space, because it wasn't that we couldn't get along in the same space. It was just an opportunity to broaden our horizons by him being in one place and me in another. And then when we did cross paths, we'd get to the heart of the issue pretty quick, or whatever we needed to talk about. And then we'd go about our business and figure it out. And yet I am continually humbled by the trust Tom put in me. And honestly, if many that would hear this would know my sister-in-law, Marcy, and she has continued to keep that same level of trust over the years, even after Tom's passed. And I don't take that for granted. I really appreciate it. But again, a confidence and a trust that we have the same goals, and a confidence and a trust that you're going to be loved and accepted, even when you have a difference of opinion.
We would be totally remiss if we did not spend a few minutes talking about Tom Burrus, because I got to tell you, Todd, I was trying to reflect
It might
back.
take more than a few minutes,
It
Todd.
might. It might be a podcast into its own.
Everybody on here has a litany of Tom Burrus stories, I'm sure.
Well, and me too. And I was trying to recall. I want to say that I first met y'all in 2006 or 2007. So, I had an opportunity to really know Tom about 10 years. And, he's such a grand, gregarious guy. And, as I look back, I think he's been called the gentleman of the seed industry. And I mean, just, really something, and a character and a half. But he certainly had, I think that he never, in my experience with him, he never met a stranger ever. And he was incredibly welcoming to everyone, which is a gift. I mean, it's a real gift, and so gracious to everyone just all the time.
He loved IPSA. Yeah, he loved IPSA. It was he loved the seed business. He loved the relationships within that, the customers, but being a seedsman meant something to him back when it probably had different connotations than it did now. He knew about the help and the neighborly, just like we were all fortunate growing up with, neighbors help neighbors. And Tom took that aspect back in on a seedsmanship type role too, as that's what it was about. And it really was important to him.
So Tom was president of IPSA back in 2004 or 2005.
Yeah, one of those. I'm not sure.
One of those. Yeah. But what I remember about that specifically was, and of course I wasn't here then. I'm way younger than that. What I remember about that was I was told flat out that it was in the year where the ASI companies were formed by Monsanto. So there was a lot of acquisitions and a lot of independents that were going out and selling to Monsanto. As a matter of fact, there were a lot of independents that were being sold, I think in 2004. Syngenta acquired Garston Golden Harvest that year. ASI were formed. Dow was making some acquisitions and stuff. And I remember that Tom, in brand new CEO of IPSA, Greg Ruley, sent a apparently stinging letter to Monsanto over what they were doing that really kind of hacked some people off, I guess it would say. So, it was one of those things that Tom stood up for the industry. And in my experience with him, he always did that. He wasn't afraid to take a position and to say, this is wrong, and stand up and say, we need to look at this as an industry. And I do have to say, one of the later conversations that I had with Tom before he passed was he was so highly concerned about actions with the EPA and over corn rootworm, a single event corn rootworm at that time, that, he told me, I guess once, and I don't think I paid enough attention. He told me the second time, and I said, okay, well, this is serious because Tom's concerned about it. So we got to go to the EPA and have a discussion about it. And so it really kind of started a lot of the consistent battles that we have had and taken on as IPSA over the last 7-8 years with the EPA, because of what Tom started and said, we can't lose these types of technology just from some arbitrary reason, government regulations. So, when I look at that and the stands that he took, I realize that even today, I'm still fighting battles that Tom said, we need to fight this. And so his legacy that way lives on.
Todd, I think that's one of the things that is important to the audience that's going to hear this is the independent seed companies have a very unique position in the industry. And we don't want to take advantage of that, but we do have a responsibility because of that unique position of not just having to carry a corporate message, but to carry a message that is the right message for agriculture. And it's the right message for agriculture going forward that is the view of an independent source. And I can't say enough to encourage us to know when is the right time to step up and verbalize what needs to be done within the industry for the good agriculture. And that, honestly, that was one of the reasons we maintained our independence, when it wasn't for lack of opportunity to have cash to check. It was what we believed was in not only in the industry's best interest, but we believed it was in our family's best interest in American agriculture to stay independent.
If that's not a
Well,
soundbite, I don't know what is.
yeah, exactly
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
You know, and there's so many things that come along with that. You know, I know, and I think I can tell this story, and without us being too worried about it. Yeah, it wasn't from lack of having an opportunity to cash a check, because there were a lot of companies that were interested in Burrus, a lot that wanted to put them in. And I happened to be party to one of those companies years ago. And I remember coming to the site, and, you know, you were there, Martha was there, Tim was there, Tom was there. We all sat down, and, you know, Marcy and the ladies had us all fixed up with some fresh sweet corn out of the field. We had a whole contingent of people around, and we wanted to talk about making an offer to buy Burrus. And I thought it was a compelling offer. And I'll never forget Tom saying, right after we got through the presentation, "Well, thank you. We're very flattered, but I think we're going to have to say no." I thought, really?
Yeah, Todd. Yeah, Todd. Another situation arose like that, and I was in the vehicle when we pulled in. Tom said it was one of the multiple times that they had been there to discuss things, and he said, "Pull in here, Tim." And we pulled in. He said, "See up on top of that hill's Burrus Cemetery." And he said, "There's 6 generations of Burruses buried up there. And if we sold this business to you, they'd all be rolling over in their graves." I put it in reverse. I backed out. We never talked about it again.
Oh my God. And no, that's the incredible thing. The big opportunities, but the commitment to the industry and staying independent. I mean, wow, that is it's such a statement, and something to, you know, that I want people to hear. And when it's time that, okay, well, maybe this is not going well, sometimes it doesn't always go in a straight line, but we stand through adversity and can accomplish some great things. Let's move forward a little bit. So we've talked about the past. Let's move forward, because over, I'm going to say, the last, let's call it 8-9 years, y'all have also evolved the business and formed some other alliances and relationships in order to offer more products out to your customer in a broader range. You know, I think that y'all have a very special relationship with the Don Mario brand nationally. And of course, I recall when y'all bought and formed an alliance with Hughes Hybrids, and started working closely with the Hughes. And, you know, over time, y'all brought in some additional brands like Power Plus. Can you kind of walk us through some of those decision points and the evolutions, and, you know, what was going through your mind and what your objective was to kind of expand? Because some of that was a little bit of pivoting into some new areas.
It was, and there were discussions of when opportunities arose, and we had family discussions of, you know, what those opportunities might mean for our business, and really, one of the big ones was when we purchased Hoblet Seed, 2009, because we'd been seed corn only up until that point, and you know, at that point, it was a major shift for us to add another crop to our sales portfolio, and we brought on soybeans. And uh, thank goodness for Rick and Jim McCown of saying, "Hey, we're going to help you with this." But that really propelled us into offering corn and soybeans, and started a whole new chapter for our business. And then the other opportunities arose, and we had discussions on, would this benefit us? But not only would it benefit us as a business, would it benefit our customers? Um, and we have been very fortunate over the years to the retention rate and working with multiple generations. We thought this is a great opportunity, to be able to provide the major input needs of corn and soybeans on a farm. So it made sense for us, and we tried to look at each of those opportunities in kind of that scope of, not only is it good for us as a business, is it good for our customers, and is it something where we can help them, going back to that foundation of, can we have the opportunity to help them increase their yield, which in turn could help them increase their profitability. And we looked at several of those aspects before we just dove in.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's I think it's been some good thoughts. And of course, looking at all of that certainly expanded your opportunities in business and product offerings all the way around. So, I mean, that's always a strong position. And, when I think about kind of innovating and pivoting around, let's face it, literally your roots are in innovation. Bringing a hybrid seed corn to market in 1935 and trying to move forward like that is the cusp of innovation. I mean, it was right after hybrid seed corn was introduced into the U.S. It's still a growing market, and boom, let's get on that. That's innovation at its finest. And I think that so many times I fight that battle in Washington and some other areas for people that don't understand, and they look to biotechnology as the innovation. And, the big companies are doing this. Hey, it was small companies. It was independent companies like Burrus that came in and offered hybrid corn seed and really started helping it burn across the nation and, its adoption. So, I mean, you're rooted in innovation, which I think is huge. So where's the next innovation?
Wow. That's the $64,000 question.
I think that's too cheap today. We've had a lot of inflation.
Yeah, I think it is too cheap with inflation. Yeah, you're exactly right. And I was thinking that after I said that, but it's really exciting time, Todd. I think we're at the tip of the iceberg on so many of these new emerging technologies, and just what AI, all the capabilities that are right there at our fingertips. I think we're going to start to unlock, to be able to, we know we've all captured, we've set the stage and captured all sorts of data and have all these data points and what have you. And I think we're right there at the cusp of helping harness more of that information, understand how to move forward. So I think the opportunity is gonna be endless, and I can't point my finger right now on what's the next big innovation, but for us, you just look at the accelerated breeding and what that's bringing in genetic gain to our growers, and being able to test that information and share is pretty exciting time, actually, and couple that with the new offerings coming out on treatment options and different things that can help augment of stabilizing or increasing yields. It's just pretty exciting time.
No question.
Todd, one thing I would comment there, I'd be willing to bet that Grandpa had no clue how impactful hybrid seed corn was going to be. I think they took the step in because they believed that it was a step up. We've actually got rows growing here of open pollinated versus that first hybrid, that US 13. And it really was a step up. I've told a couple of our sales guys, if we could have something that was that definitively better, even they could sell it. But I suspect that when I look back over that time, our best gains have been not looking for the great big thing that's going to be a game changer. It's how do we find a 0.5% better here? How do we find a 1% better there? And it's not, how do we find a 20% better somewhere that changes everything? It's more about, how do I play my chips wisely to capture that 0.5% or 1% here and there on a steady basis? And I think when I look across my history here, and that's 49 years at this point, it's more through little gains, consistent little gains has made the difference, not one big one.
Got it. Well, I got to tell you what, gentlemen, this is a great story. I mean, when I look back across the 90 years of Burrus, it's just, it should be an inspirational, and it is an inspirational story to me, and it should be inspirational to everybody else. So, Griffin, you and Gannon, like, no pressure. 90 years, so, it's all resting on your shoulders. I do need to remind you that not only was your dad a president of IPSA, but so was your grandfather.
Yeah.
So,
I know.
expectations running high, buddy.
Yeah. Nope. I hear you. And, pressure's a privilege. And I know that gets thrown around a lot, but, going back to being innovative, the simple things will always be the simplest things, and they get more complex. And one thing I'll give the company without a shadow of a doubt is, we've always been willing to grow and try different things. Have they all worked? Probably not. But, we are an independent family-owned seed company that plays with the big boys, and we've found different ways to do that. And we're going to find different ways to do that. That's our calling card, and that's what we've done for 90 years. And we're going to do for the next 90.
Well, I love that.
Yeah, I
Absolutely
love
love
that.
So, look, gents, I want to say thank you, Todd, Tim, Griffin. I do have to give this plug again for Burrus Seed. As we've recognized Tom Burrus, one of the privileges that we have at IPSA is to have the Tom Burrus Memorial Scholarship that was graciously donated by the Burrus family from when Tom passed. And Marcy has made, such a valuable endowed contribution to make sure that stays on. So the, Burrus Scholarship will live on for many, many, many years. And we're so excited to partner with y'all in that way. And I just want to say, on behalf of IPSA, thank you for all the many years of support in our long 35-year history that is barely a third of what you have done. I will say, I know from looking at the formation documents from 1989, if Burrus Seed had not been a strong voice all through those 3+ decades, IPSA would not be here today. So, the fact of, Tim, what you said, IPSA has been important to Burrus. You don't just say that, you have lived that. And we appreciate that very much.
Thank you. It was, it's been an honor. And again, that independent seed sector, for all of us is really important and for our growers. So we've been proud to be able to, support it through, not only time and efforts, but helping share the message of ag, and especially with an independent, aspect to it.
Well, very good. Well, again, congratulations on such a big milestone. It's huge. And that'll wrap us up for this edition of Stalk Talk. Catherine, do you remember what to say?
Yeah. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to grow our audience. And we appreciate you listening today.